And welcome to another episode of Thoughts of the Roundtable with me, Matt Rebar.
And me, Paul Lux.
And in case you missed it, I dropped my Taroting Experience special last week where I basically, for the first time ever, read tarot cards for people. So if you want to check that out, that's up right now. And I know, Paul, you're working on a couple interviews, hopefully for later this month or next month. So that's exciting.
Yes. It is extremely hard with COVID and, the everyone's on a different mic like 20 miles away from you. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, but we'll get there.
And we both just finished finals week, right?
Yes. I'm doing a little certificate program. It's not as in-depth as yours. I'm doing a little certificate on how to do web stuff. So just kind of learn a little bit more stuff. But you're like in doing a whole creative endeavor.
Yeah, so I finished my first semester of grad school, and I did 10 credits, 4
Congrats
classes.
to you, by the way.
4 A's. And so what's fun about it is, A, I'm 1/3 done, because it's only 30 credits, which
Very
is great.
nice.
I know, right? But then 2, this was my best semester ever. And I think what I feel good about it is, like, I've always felt, like, pretty good. But, like, my best semester after this one, like, I had one where I got, like, a 3.5 for the semester. And it's, like, I got, like, 3 A's, 4 A's maybe. And it was, like, a B and a C plus in Spanish. And, like, that's, like, my second best semester ever. But it goes to show you, like, if you're doing what you like or you're doing what you're good at, like, getting those A's, like, I was challenged for sure, and I worked really hard for it, but, like, I enjoyed it. Like, I genuinely loved the classes that I took.
Sometimes it feels like school, like, literally never ends, too. Like, I remember when I graduated from high school, I had the thought in my head, like, I just got to do a little bit of college and I'll be done forever. And then I graduated with my bachelor's in 3 years. I'm like, got my bachelor's degree. I'm done with school forever. And then I went and got my master's. And finished my master's, like, I'm done with school forever. Now I'm in a certificate program. It, like, literally never ends.
I got to tell you, though, I've already been kind of, like, looking at PhD programs a little bit. Just a little bit.
In what? Like, and what would you do? Because you're more on the creative side. I don't really know a PhD on the creative side.
Here's kind of where I'm at. Sociology has always been my academic love, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I've considered doing the doctorate in sociology. But, it also, like, communications is like a strength of mine, but like academically, I don't love communications. I like communications for the creative. So I also thought about creative writing as a PhD because of all my writing experience. Like, I don't know. I'm looking. The biggest
Dr.
thing,
Matt.
the problem, yeah, right, Dr. Matthew. But the biggest problem is, finding on because like a lot of college is online, and then there's a lot of graduate programs that are online. Not a lot of PhD programs that are online. So, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I think I'm just trying to, like, prepare myself for, like, okay, if not now, maybe in my 30s or, in my 40s. Because, like, I definitely want to do a doctorate. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm just investigating a little bit.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I almost did. When I got a traditional master's degree from Cleveland State. And I was going to move on to a PhD program. And I looked at schools. I took the GRE, which is like an absolute nightmare. I did all that stuff, and then I ended up never applying to any PhD programs just because it just didn't really seem worth it in the communication field, to be totally honest. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't want to teach, and that was like basically the only option, like really in that in that direction. So
I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you agree with me. I just feel like communications, like I don't know, like academically, it's not like a strong academic subject in the sense
I disagree
of, like,
with that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, creatively and, like, the journalism and the media, maybe interpersonal, but, like, I don't know. I just feel like the academic element of communications, it's better strengthened in other forms of academia.
I would actually disagree with that. My favorite was interpersonal, and I think just so much can come out from the research of it that I think it's really important. I think it's looked over at times, and especially with how things are today with the media and journalism and stuff, and a lot of sociology things that come out of that, which is tied directly to communication. So I
feel like sociology does a better job at those interpersonal, and psychology at those interpersonal.
Well, I mean, that's a difference without a distinction at that point, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, communication is a core fundamental of some psychology and some sociology stuff. I mean, that's a core fundament of it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think people lump communication into this, like the field, into just this weird, pot of, I don't know, crazy sociologist, but that's really not what it is.
I just think, I don't know. I've always loved, like, this comes from a guy who, I mean, my master's is in digital storytelling, which is, a form of communications. My undergraduate's in communications. And, like, for me, that's perfect, right? Like, I didn't do communications because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to do communications.
See, that's the other thing that people always say. I hate that, too.
Yeah.
It's like they think people who do the communication majors are the dunces. Well, that's not true at all. Like, you and I generally love that stuff, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sure, do people jump into it because they want to do, they think, oh, I don't want to do business, I want to do, like, whatever, maybe.
I gotta say one thing. You know what the class, I loved this class, but this class is the stuff that weeded out the people who were like that, who thought it was just gonna be an easy, degree or whatever, from the people who actually like doing it. And it was the public speaking courses. And I loved doing those. And because public speaking doesn't bother me literally at all. I was on the radio for years. It just doesn't faze me. It never did. But that was the one. I remember that being the class. Like, you could tell that was the line in the sand for the people who were there for, like, they liked the major, and the people who were there just to get that major. And, like, man, some people sweated that class out.
What's funny is for my undergraduate, the entry level, like, to get into, like, your base level was Speech 101. And it was a core curriculum class, but then that was, like, basically, like, you had to take Speech 101 before you took, like, any other communication class. And I remember loving it. And I actually, my third and last speech, I feel like she gave me an A+ on the paper. Like, she literally wrote A+, which, anyone who knows, there's no such thing as an A+. It's A's. But no, I totally agree with you. Speech was, for you and I, it comes really intrinsically and naturally. Like, for my business class that I had to do, my best grade in the whole class was the pitch presentation, which makes sense because that's like
one of the hardest things I ever had to do, though. This one made, like, I think I'm a pretty good public speaker, and this one made even me sweat. And it was the most ingenious test ever. It was we knew this was coming. We had to figure out a way to prepare for it. But we were all fake spokespersons for a company, okay? And you would get the company. So you knew what company, you're like, okay, so you're Nestle. You're, Roto-Rooter, something like that. Just, you would get a company. So you knew weeks in advance what your company was. But you didn't know the situation. Like, you went up there and it was like you were holding a press conference, and then they presented you a situation. Like, this happened with your company, this lawsuit happened, and you had 60 seconds to prepare for it. And I remember the most brutal one was a guy he was a superintendent of a school district. And he had 60 seconds to prepare for this, is that one of his teachers got arrested for having sex with one of the students. And he had to do the press conference for that. He had to take questions on that and try to, like, navigate his way through it. And it was the most brutal thing I've ever seen in my life.
See, I like the concept, but in that case, like, you really have to be on top of your game to handle.
That was the hardest one.
Let me prepare for 60 seconds,
That was the hardest one. And the worst thing was that the people who were asking questions was the rest of the class. Like, we got to ask him the questions.
See, I like the concept. I think because I want to teach college, so I think something like that sounds fun, but, like, you couldn't grade too hard. Like, you couldn't be, like, too harshly, grading.
No, I mean, nobody really failed these things. It was more of just, like, it was teaching efforts. I mean, as long as you didn't totally botch the thing, you were going to be fine.
Yeah. I was even thinking, too, it would be kind of fun to do, like breakup scenes. Like, how do you break up with someone? How do you, or, like, ask for a raise from your boss? Like,
yeah.
These are speaking skills that I think people, who do speech class, like, they're like, I don't have to ever give a speech again. That's not true. Your whole life is full of speeches.
I mean, really, even at the base, ground level of it, ordering food at a restaurant's theoretically a speech. It's a short one, but it is one. Mm-hmm. You know what they should teach in speech class? The first thing they should teach in speech class is telephone conversations. I sound so crotchety and old saying that, but it's true. It really is.
Like, how to answer a telephone?
Just how to, like, people are so afraid to call anymore. Myself included. I don't like calling people.
No, neither do I.
I don't like being called. I barely answer these Skype calls.
You're like, oh God, it's Matt again. Jesus. I don't answer. If I don't have the phone number saved to my phone, I'm not answering that call. Do you do the same thing?
Well, actually, I lie. I answer just about everything. I do.
Okay.
Because because what's worse to me personally is, so 9 times out of 10, they're spam calls, whatever, you just hang up on them. But every once in a while, it's something that's legit, and I have to call back, and I don't want to call back.
You're right. That's like the extra 10 minutes. Oh, I gotta tell you the story, and I want you to. This is kind of speaking of communications. So a few weeks ago, this comedian friend requested me, local comedian,
Local one.
and yeah, because that's
Do
part
I
of the
know them?
gig. No, I don't think you would. And I didn't really know them that well, but I accepted because we were on a show together. Mm-hmm. And I'm hosting this show in Akron. I'm like substitute hosting next week. And I messaged him on Facebook. I said, hey, do you want to come out? And he's like, no, I'm good. And then I realized, wait a minute, we're not friends anymore. And I was like, he unfriended me.
Right after friending you?
Like literally in the 3 weeks, like 3 weeks ago, he friended me. And since then, he's unfriended me. And I reached out to a mutual friend, another comedian. And I was like, is this weird? Like, blah, blah. He goes, same thing happened to me. He re-added me months later and blah, blah. I was like, so this guy is like,
what's his end game? What's he trying to do?
Well, the theory that me and my mutual compadre came up with is that the guy maybe feels like I didn't interact with him on Facebook enough. I wasn't like liking his posts or something.
Is that guy kind of bring off that aura, like that you constantly have to interact with this stuff?
Before I realized I was unfriended, I did not realize that.
Do you know how many people I don't see on my feed that I'm friends with? Probably like 90% of them.
Here's the thing, 100%. That I see the same 20 people on my Facebook feed, and that's part of the Facebook algorithm that I think sucks. You just say the same people. Mm-hmm. 2, I'm not on social media that much. And when I am, like, maybe I'll scroll a little bit, but I'm not going to scroll and see every single post from everybody. That's just not possible. And 2, like, when have I ever given the impression that I don't support people? Like, I am a huge advocate for, like, people doing projects and, like, local art and collaboration and supporting each other. So this whole thing threw me for a loop because, honestly, like, I think it really hit me because, lately with a COVID winter, I've just been feeling like really socially deprived. I've been feeling like
it's starting to hit me.
And
it really
existentialist. And it's like, now I feel like, I'm like, why does this guy unfriend me? It just seems so weird. But like, I feel a little bit better after talking to a mutual friend and figuring out that I'm not an outlier.
Right.
But still so weird.
How are shows, by the way? You said you've been doing some stand-up, right? How has that been going around here?
Really, not many people there.
What kind of size clubs do you do? Do you do bigger ones? Do you do...
They're like
small bars?
Smaller, medium. They're like cute little places. Like the one actually that I'm hosting next week, it's at a veterans hall. Okay. So that's a bigger space.
Yeah. But they're pretty
casual.
sparsely
they're pretty attended. Casual. Well, and honestly, like, I like doing stand-up. I don't think it's a strength of mine, to be honest with you. Because I think I do better when I get to, like, piece together projects like sitcom podcasting and doing my music and stuff. Like, when I get time to, like, write and edit and there's, like, layers to it. Whereas, like, stand-up, like, I don't know. I feel like the best people who do stand-up, they're, like, kind of quick. They write these quick little one-liners and these little jokes, which I guess I can do, but I don't know. But I like doing stand-up. I don't regret.
Who's your favorite comedian?
Locally or in general?
Just in general. Top one.
I love...
Because that gives me kind of a sense of your style that you like.
I mean, there's so many good ones. Nathan from Nathan For You, I think is fan. I love his dry humor a lot. I'm trying to think the guy I like. I get a lot of my humor, I guess, from like a lot of animated shows too. So like Seth MacFarlane and like, written humor. So
I've only ever been to one stand-up show my entire life.
Really, just one?
It was Dimitri Martin.
I don't know if I know him.
He's the guy who does a lot of like the drawings, and he'll bring out his guitar. He's got that bowl cut, and he's got the big nose, real skinny. He's pretty big. You probably have at least seen his face.
I'm so bad with names.
If you Google him right now, just Google him on your phone right now. Just look at his face. Okay. You will probably.
It's Dimitri
Martin.
I'm on it. I like how we're live and just going for it.
Hey, it is what it is, man. Honestly. But no, No, this quarantine thing is starting to hit me hard too. I know you were saying that earlier before we started, but it's really getting there, man. Just think, it's almost been we're inching close on what, 10 months? Because I know Ohio went to lockdown in March, if I'm not mistaken, end of March. So we got 10 months under our belt of this.
It's just, I feel like I've been struggling with friendship in general. I think because as you get older, you like shed your friends a little bit. You know, in college, you're like friends with everybody. You're all living together in like the same area of town. Your 20s
are nuts because you don't have any money. You barely have a place to live. You don't have a career yet. It's just like the wildest times. And you're friends with everybody. And one thing I noticed when I turned 30 is like that's all kind of gone away, which is was sad to a degree. But no, I get what you're saying.
And I've come to the realization, like, you know, friends come in and out of our lives for different reasons. And, like, it's crazy. Like, I was even thinking about it today about, like, a couple friends. And I'm like, at the time when we were really close, I was like, this is going to be, like a friend for life right here. And then things happen. Relationships happen. And, you know, job opportunities happen. And bada bing, bada boom. It's you put it, it's almost like friendships are like a DVD collection. And some friendships you watch the DVD all the time. Others you watched it a few times, like for like.
And some end up in the $5 bin.
Yeah, and then they're for the most part they're all kept on the shelf, like in a memory shelf.
This reminds me of when I was in college, and I was in a band in college, and man, we were around each other 24/7. Obviously, we had school during the week, but on the weekends we'd play at like seedy ass bars all over Ohio. We'd sleep in like people's homes, like dirty ass homes. Just, you know, and it was just like the craziest times. And I remember we did this for like 3 years. And we thought, you know, we always thought, oh, this will never end. And then all of a sudden, this person got a job in New York. This person got a job in London. This person got a job in Boston. And then it just kind of faded away. Mm-hmm. But, you know, what's funny about that is that always bums me out every once in a while, you know, that crazy experience I had with the band. But, and I'll never forget this. So, Ohio and like everybody in the world officially went out, like the pandemic was declared March 11th of 2020. And I played with the band one last time, March 10th, the day before like the whole thing went down.
Wow.
That was literally the last thing I did with like the big thing I did with friends was that one experience. And it's just weird that was the last thing we've done for like a year now. Like I haven't been to a restaurant since January, like it's coming up on a year. I haven't been to, and the last one I went to was like some Mexican restaurant. Man, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Well, I think you're in a position where you have a young child, and so it really puts the pressure on, like, being cavemen. Like you don't want to. You have such a young, precious life. Whereas, like me, you know, works. You know, I went into work every single day. I had no option. Like I didn't stay at home at all.
Yeah, because you're essential.
Well,
I mean, your job is considered
quote essential. But yeah, how essential
someone's got to do it
is different, I guess. But you know, for me, I feel like I've been this like half example because, like, you know, I do stay at home a lot, and I'm not doing much. I'm not doing anything. I'm not seeing any people, but I still got to work. You know, I still got to do that. So
it's. I thought when, you know, all this quarantine was going to go down, I thought it was kind of nice that I would have some time to do some more creative outlets, but man, it's burned me out a little bit. In this winter, you know, I have a break for about a month from, you know, this program I'm doing. And it kind of, you know, makes me upset because I don't know if you feel the same way, but we have all this time to do all this creative stuff. And it's like my mind is fried. Like I just can't get my head around it, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like the creative burnout.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of been like, I had a lot of goals this year and I had to push them to next year. And so I think for me, creatively, I feel like a little like I have an itch because like there's things that I just can't do. So like I've been working a lot on the music. I've been working a lot on some like projects that I can do at home. Right. But like, I want to get back out there. I want to get back into the field. And
I just want to. I want to go to dirty dive bars again. I want to see.
Yes.
Like, I want to like go to karaoke at some weird ass place in Lakewood again with you guys.
Yes,
And
I want to
that's
stay
what I
until like
missed.
2 a.m. and like go out till the bars close. And
I'm gonna tell you when this vaccine hopefully calms everything down, or whenever this goes away. The first thing I want to do is just do some weird ass wonky karaoke at that bar in downtown Lakewood. Man, we saw some characters. That is like. It's like a UN meeting at that place, man, and I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Corky's is one of those bars. Actually, the best bar in Cleveland that has like an identity crisis, Tina's. It's this little
Never
place.
been there.
It's this little. They do karaoke. It's in Ohio City. The vibe's different every time. One night it'll be like a trucker bar. One night it's like a gay bar. One night it's like millennials. It's insane.
It's just whoever shows up first that night.
It's really like, yeah, the identity of the bar is always changing. I love those places.
But I was gonna say I love those places, and because the thing about Corky's is it's just everybody. It's just everybody. And I think that was one of my I'll never forget watching that karaoke. It would go from like metal to like K-pop to country. Like it was just all over the Christmas songs. It was just nuts. And that was the kind of stuff because there was just so many characters and just oh man. That's the stuff I miss and I can't wait to get back to that. I really can't.
It's going to be funny because before COVID, I'd be like, oh, I'm too tired or like I have
I'm never going to say that again.
5 a.m. But yeah, I think I'm at least for for the first year post COVID, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'll do that and I'll do this and I don't know, we'll see.
It'll be fun. We'll get back together and
The good news is, and some more good news. I filed the LLC paperwork today.
I thought you were going to say fired.
Filed, my bad. So the state of Ohio is probably going to take a week or two to approve my paperwork, and fingers crossed, I'll be able to talk about it soon.
Nice, and you'll have your own legitimate company.
I know. It'll be fun.
Was that hard to do? I've never filed an LLC.
Oh, it really was so easy. It took like 10 minutes, not even $100.
Really? Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, this could be a whole nother podcast. I won't ask any more questions. I'll just leave it at that because I have too many. I really do. This is Mad Money on CNBC.
Yeah, this podcast today is like communications to existentialism to this person in front of me on Facebook to like LLC talk. Like, I love it.
Can we bring up the grandfather paradox next episode?
Oh my God, what is that?
You know what? I'll bring it up now.
Yeah, close this out.
So this is the grandfather paradox. It's one of my favorite things to bring up in like random conversations. And here's what it is so you go back in time, okay? And it's how it kind of explains parallel universes. So you go back in time, kill your grandfather, okay?
Okay.
In turn, he does not have your father. In turn, he does not have you. Therefore, you couldn't have gone back and killed your grandfather. So he exists. But then you go back and kill your grandfather, and then which your dad doesn't exist, but then you didn't exist, so you didn't exist to kill your grandfather. So it's this endless loop of whether this thing can happen or not. And the thought about it is that things can actually split off into 3 different multiverses. Mm-hmm. So there can be one where you killed your grandfather and didn't at the same time. And it's basically just if you believe that or not. If it's things like that can happen.
I mean, theoretically, I rewatched Futurama a few months ago, and there's an episode where they travel back in time, and they're in like the 1940s. Long story short, Fry's grandfather is around, and Fry gets worried that like his grandfather's gonna die, and so while protecting his grandfather, the grandfather accidentally dies, and so Fry ends up having sex with his grandmother in order to be alive in the future. And it's just so interesting because it's like, I don't know, like, would that genuinely work? Like,
do you believe in infinite universes?
I kind of do, and I think that sometimes I wish I was in a different one because I feel like I'm in my universe is like talented, but not like always going to be underrated, which I don't mind. But like I feel like there's a couple universes out there where like, not like I'm Joe Rogan, but like I'm like maybe like B level or something.
It's like that phrase. It's like there's an infinite amount of universes. Somehow I ended up in this shitty one.
Right? I feel like I'm in an okay one. I feel like I could be in like I'm trying to think of like universes. Like if there's like a universe where I sold out and like went to work in like corporate management or something. Like oof, that sounds bad. Or like I don't know, a universe where like I'm like on the streets or something. I don't know. So, like, I feel like I'm definitely in a better than some...
Way to cheer us up at the end.
I'm such an optimistic person.
At least I'm not homeless in this
bad.
one.
Yeah. Oh.
All right.
Well, it's been a good time. I'm so glad to see you.
Yes, and hopefully we'll get a little bit better of a world view, you know, next time we record with everything going on. So we'll see. Yeah. It's always an adventure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, until next time, peace out.